Well, hey everybody. Can you believe it's Friday already? And I say already because things are just moving at breakneck speed. At least they are here in the man cave. Well, today's title is Every Day's a Struggle. No kidding. Yeah, and I got to tell you, I spent all morning trying to make notes for today's live, and my head is spinning. It's not like this. It's not like, usually not like this. It's spinning. But we'll get to that. So what's been happening the last 2 weeks here in the man cave? Well, not much, because life outside the man cave has gotten pretty crazy. Now, I've told you about having to spend days out of town to take care of a rental cottage. That was a week ago. Then this week, some of you remember that I was in the screen printing business for a number of years, and I found a buyer for all of my screen printing stuff finally. And they were coming from actually out of town this week to pick up the stuff that I had sold them, and they had to come Wednesday. This is why I wasn't live on Wednesday, and they were supposed to be here, of course, right around the noon hour. They didn't get here till 3:30. So, I mean, it was just, everything's been kind of discombobulated. I've used that word before. It's one of my favorite ones. Second thing is that, you know, now that I've got almost an empty storage unit, I now have to move. To another spot. And that's got to happen in the next 4 days. I don't have to move, but it's a lot less expensive. So things have been kind of crazy here, and I never want to just throw something up, whether it's live or recorded, that's just up to say I had something, you know, up. I don't want to do that. It's too much going on in the world right now. I don't want to just throw something up without having put my best effort into it. So it's been a crazy week. I think, crossing my fingers, I think we're pretty much coming to the end of some of the insanity. Oh, we had house guests too for the last 4 or 5 days. Not that, I mean, I enjoyed that. That was wonderful, but that does kind of throw you out of sync a little bit. At least it does me. Anyway, I think we're back to normal a little bit, which makes me happy because there's a lot to chat about, isn't there? Okay. Now, some of you may be wondering, Shep, you got 2 microphones here. You got one right there, and then you got this one right here. What's the deal? Well, because I'm technologically challenged. I use this microphone to go to Instagram on my phone, and this microphone here, the Mac Daddy, goes to the Facebook right here. So that's why I've got that. Someday I'm going to have it all together. Someday. Someday a lot of things are going to happen, I hope. All right, that's when I'm talking. Every day is a struggle. It is for every single person on earth, whether you admit it or not. It is. Here's what I want to know. How are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling? I don't want to know what you think. I want to know how you're feeling. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. Wasn't that long ago, it was before all this craziness happened, wasn't that long ago that I learned a real valuable lesson in life. Now, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm a lot older than I look, okay? I'm on the back nine of life. One of the benefits of being on the back nine is that you gain perspective, not because you're smarter than anybody else, just because you've experienced so much. You've seen what works, you've seen what hasn't worked, and you gain some clarity, some perspective. So one of the good things about being on the back nine is you've got that. But I got to tell you, wasn't that long ago, I learned a valuable lesson about feelings. I want to share that with you because I think it's hugely important in today's environment. Do you ever consider feelings at all? Did you know, had you ever thought about the fact that you as a person, through no intent, no fault of your own, may have done, said, or acted in a way that produced negative feelings in someone else? Have you ever thought of that? No fault, it just happened. Whatever you did, right, wrong, or otherwise, it produced certain feelings in someone else. Well, we all know that if feelings, we're seeing that right now, if feelings aren't addressed, then they fester. They fester. That's not a good thing. And after a while, it gets infected. Maybe that's what fester is. You know what I'm talking about here. It gets bad. Okay, so what's the solution? The solution, and I've been trying to do this, and I would suggest you try to do this. It ain't easy. But I learned this from my lesson that I learned several months ago about feelings. When people have feelings, we all do, but in this case, certain groups of people, certain folks have feelings, you have to listen. You have to give them that. You have to listen. You have to validate the feelings. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but you have to validate the feelings because we all have feelings. And in our own hearts and minds, our feelings, well, they're treasured. I mean, this is how I feel. We don't know, I said this last week, we have no idea what it's like to be anybody else but us. We don't. So when someone says, I have these feelings, you have to honor them in a sense that I hear you. I respect that you have these feelings. I may not understand them, and at least at the beginning of the conversation, I may not necessarily agree with those feelings, but I'm not you, so I can't get inside you to know these feelings. I've got feelings too. So the point here is listening. It's listening. And sometimes when you, whoever you are the recipient of the feelings, it's hard because you may say, I didn't intend to do that. That wasn't my intent. I didn't know that I was doing that to make you feel this way. And those are valid feelings too, but you have to acknowledge and honor the other person's feelings also. Because if you don't do that, you can't get better, ever. Those feelings will continue to fester. The only way to improve and get better is to acknowledge those feelings and say, you know what, I'm sorry that whatever I did made you feel that way. I am. How can we improve? Okay. I don't know if that's happening right now. And I get that. Because feelings, if they fester long enough, boy, that anger just goes ballistic, doesn't it? We're seeing some of that. So this week, I have continued to unfriend people on Facebook, and I've continued to block people on Twitter. Simply because I get it. I hear you. I acknowledge your feelings. But I don't need to keep getting hit over the head with them. And I think that's where a lot of us are right now. Man, I hear your feelings. I acknowledge them. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I wish there was something I could do. Let's talk about what that is. But I don't need to keep getting hit over the head with it. But that's what's happening because people's feelings have festered. I understand that. You know, a lot of it is perspective. For those of us that are on the back nine of life, and this is a message for you youngsters, those of us that are on the back nine of life, we remember the 60s. We remember 1968. We have a perspective that you young folks don't have at all. All you know is your own story of right now. So we have a perspective, and I said this last week, 1968 was a bad year in this country for all the same reasons we're seeing now. But what the young folks don't know, and you may not even want to hear this, is that we have made tons of progress since 1968. We have. And only those of us that were there understand that we have. We have so much further to go. But sometimes I feel like we need to focus on the wins we have. We have some wins, okay, but we still have too many losses. We need to continue the conversation. So perspective is something that I think some of the older people have, that some of the younger people at least ought to hear. You know, let's think about some wins we've had, because we've had some. Here's something else I do. Here's something else I've done this week as my head is spinning with everything that's going on. Nobody could have predicted what's happening right now in the extent that it's happened. What I've done this past week is I've gone back to people like Maya Angelou and Martin Luther King. Now, why would you do that, Shep? Well, they've lived their lives in a way that I couldn't, because they are a different race than I am. But I respect them in a sense that maybe I can get more wisdom from some of their writings, because they understand what life was like for them. No way I could. Just want to give you a couple of quotes. This helped me. And I don't know why we don't continue to focus on folks like Maya Angelou and MLK. I don't know why. Because I believe they had the right focus. Consider some of these quotes. Maya Angelou. She said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." Now, when we started today's live, one of the first things I asked you was, how are you feeling? This is one of the reasons I asked you that, because what Maya is saying there really is about feelings, how we feel about things. And people will always remember how you made them feel. Here's something else she said that I think is appropriate for today. Hate. Hate. It has caused a lot of problems in the world, but it hasn't solved one single problem yet. Hate does not solve problems. And MLK had some quotes like that too. Here's a couple from Martin Luther King. "I have decided to stick with love because hate is too great a burden to bear." Those of you that have lived with hate in your heart, and I have, I've been there in the past, not necessarily racial hate at all. It just saps you of any positive energy at all. If you're living with hate, you need to come over to the light. It's that simple. And of course, my favorite MLK of all time, which resonated with me as an 11-year-old, and we've had this discussion before. My mom always used to say, when things weren't going well for me, she'd go, "It's a character building experience." And while I understood what she said, I didn't like it. But when MLK got up there and said, I dream of the day when my 4 children will be judged not on their skin color, but on the content of their character, man, I got that. And it made sense to me. Because character really is all that matters in this world. And of course, there are Bible verses for this. And I forget the exact one because I'm not a scholar, but you know, there's a Bible verse. God looks at your heart, not at what you look like. It's true. It's everywhere. So what's missing? Well, you know where I'm going with this. And I was going to write a blog this week. Haven't gotten to it because, you know, life is stressful right now. And I just couldn't figure out which way to go. But it really is about love. Every bit of this can be fixed if people had love in their hearts. And we know that the Holy Spirit is love because the Holy Spirit is God. We just don't have that anymore. And I think it starts there because hate cannot drive out hate. It just can't. All right, so that's where I am today, Friday. This is troublesome, folks. All you can do is look in the mirror and start with you. That's what I'm trying to do. And so I'm listening. I'm still listening. Hopefully these things I'm doing Fridays and all this stuff with intentional faith, I mean, this is why we exist, to help people come to the Lord, embrace love, and then pass it on to fellow brothers and sisters. I mean, it's not rocket science, but you have to make the commitment to do it every single day, don't you? All right, soapbox today. Sorry that I'm on my soapbox, but you know I'm passionate about this kind of stuff. That life is not hard. I don't think it's not rocket science unless we make it that way. The good news is that I am seeing more messages like this from all walks of life. It ain't rocket science. Okay, we're making it much harder than it needs to be. So, you know, here's the cliche. Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. Well, if you want to be part of the solution, I contend, my suggestion is, embrace God, embrace Jesus, embrace the light, and then let that light shine so men can see how good it is. All right? Be a warrior for the Lord. I just came up with that. All right, I know we like to do birthdays on Live the Man Cave, and I have been woefully deficient. You like how I came up with that? Woefully deficient. As well as I am today, for those of you that have had birthdays since last week, God bless you. And God bless you this year. I hope everybody's having a good, happy birthday, whether it was today, yesterday, whatever. We will be back on Monday with the Monday Morning Moment. I am in the middle of working on a new podcast. It's what I'm calling my blogs. And it has to do with some of the stuff we talked about today. And the question is, how do you feel? And why are you feeling that way? Explore that. Take responsibility for you and understand that everybody has feelings and they all matter. Every feeling matters. All right. That's it for today. It's a wrap. Thanks for letting me spout on these things. I do these hopefully to just give you some food for thought. Just because I say them doesn't mean they're right. But we're all on a quest to do better, aren't we? I am. And my faith is what guides me. And I work on that every day too. And I'm here to help you with that if that's what you want to do. Be intentional, everybody. Okie dokie, it's a rainy day here. I hope the weekend gets better. I want everybody to be safe. God bless you and yours. And as always, may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times. And in every way, the Lord be with all of you. Take care. Stay strong. Keep the faith. I can do it. Stay strong. Keep the faith. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.